In this video, we're going to go over the navigation in the Razbam MiG-19P Farmer aircraft module. And this aircraft is an older Soviet aircraft, and it's pretty simple, and the navigation is based on non-directional beacons, so NDBs. You can have at any given time 2 NDBs tuned into the aircraft. You use the near and far switch here for deciding which directional beacon you're receiving, and then you set it to the compass setting to have it displayed on your HSI here. As you can see right now, we've got a runway heading set with the heading bar, and as I set up this mission, the far NDB is set for the NDB of this airfield, and so basically it's going to point directly to that, which I don't know, it's straight along the run right here. When you first start DCS with it running, or for takeoff, whatever, this panel here is for your ARC 5P non-directional beacon radio tuning panel. It's set to antenna. Antenna is what you use to tune your frequencies. Now it's kind of weird. On this left panel here, you tune the far NDB with this range knob here, and with the near one, you use the range dial here to set the range, and then you fine-tune dialing it here on this side. So for example, the far NDB set on this aircraft is the NDB for this airfield, which is 408 kilohertz, right? So it's set to the far one. And if you notice here, we're in the range between 310 and 640 kilohertz, and then it's tuned to just past the 400 mark here. So if we change this, notice our signal strength goes off. Back there, it's tuned. Or we can change the range on the far, and it detunes, of course, and we set it back. Now for the near, you have to set this up here to near. You set this to the range that you want, and then you fine tune it here. So I can't remember exactly what the frequency is. I had it preset, but it's tuned. Basically, you would turn the range to your desired range here on your near, when it's set to near up here, and then you would fine tune it here till you get the signal you want. And then if you wanted to hear the identification Morse code, I don't know if it's backwards or what, but it says radio and compass in the rear position here, but if you switch it to radio there, you can hear it. I think it's reversed. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but that's the way it works. So if you want to hear the identification, you have to set it forward. You can hear the Morse code and verify that you have the correct NDB. But if you don't need to, and you want to talk on the radio, you have it in there. So there you go. So that's how it works. Basically, in like the caucus maps, you have a near and a far outer NDB and inner NDB in each airfield that has them, and you'll set the far to your outer NDB and the near to your inner NDB, and in the event of a low visibility alignment with the runway for that airfield, you'll switch this back and forth with this in the compass setting here, or else it won't display here. To switch it back and forth until the needle hardly moves, and that way you'll know that you're aligned with those 2 NDBs in line with each other. But for this map and for this video, the airfields only have 1 NDB, so I set the far NDB to this runway so I know where it's at in case I have to come back and land after I take off. And the near one for the airport we're flying to which, if we look here, we're taking off from Bandar e Lenga, and we're going to the Keshem Island Airport here. And as you can see, the frequency on that NDB is 233 kilohertz. We're also going to be landing on runway 23, since that's the way the weather is in this particular map that I set up. So we'll keep that in mind. And I also, in the MiG-19P, all of your radios are preset, so it has to be done in the mission editor. You can't tune it yourself. So the radio frequency of 118.05 megahertz is on channel 3, and the frequency for the tower in Bandar Elenga is set to channel 2 in the preset for this mission. That said, when you're ready to take off, and when I did the startup lesson to go take off, I forgot to reset this front wheel braking system. When you take off or when you land, you want this set to on. What that does is it allows the full braking of the front wheel so that you can actually brake properly, as opposed to have it turned off, which engages your differential braking for taxiing around. But you want that on for takeoff and landing in case you have to abort, or when you're landing and you want proper braking. So make sure that's set, ready for takeoff. We've got our flaps set to take off. Our anti-skid is on. I don't know why it turns off our flight instrument heating and stuff, but that goes off. As you notice, I said before, these 4 are usually turned off. I also mentioned in my description of my other video that these 2 and this one don't necessarily need to be on, but if you lose power to those systems, those are emergency power for those systems as well. Now, like I said, make sure this is turned on to compass, so that it puts the reading on the HSI over there. And we should be good to go. Now when we get to takeoff, like I did in the other one, we're going to hold the brakes, throttle up to 10,000 RPM, start our roll, stay on the runway. When we hit 200 kilometers per hour, we're going to rotate. We'll slowly pull our nose up. You don't want to keep it up pulled back too far too fast. You'll bang the tail end of the aircraft on the runway. You don't want to do that. So you'll have to actually relieve some of your back pressure once you get your nose up, not too much, or you'll bang the nose gear back down. And we'll take off then. Once we get a little bit of positive rate, we'll pull the landing gear up. Once the landing gear are in, we'll set our flaps to all the way in, and then we'll set the locking mechanism on our landing gear until we're ready to use it again. So here we go. You might have to use differential. You might have to use a little bit of braking when you first start taking off until you get rudder authority, but then you want to use the rudder. Stay on the runway, we hit 200, rotate. Got positive rate, landing gear up. Let's set the flaps to off. And then we're going to set the switch back down. Okay, we're airborne. Now, if you keep that up, you're going to speed up pretty fast, since this is an interceptor aircraft, so just kind of pay attention, be mindful of that. I usually back it down to the general 10,000 RPM range, unless I'm going after a target and trying to speed up. We're going to be flying to that airfield I said before, so we're going to set our NDB to the near setting, and we said that their airstrip is going to be on 23, so we're going to set this to 23 so we know when we're lined up with the airport and the NDB. Okay. So as you can see, it's kind of hard to tell at a glance, but the needle is pointing to about 74 degrees, so we're going to turn into that direction. also notice that your ADI is reversed from normal aircraft, where your sky setting is on the bottom and the ground is on the top, so it might throw you for a loop the first little bit. Okay, so we're going to fly in the general direction of the airfield here. Shouldn't be too far off, so I'm not going to speed up too much here. But you'll notice that our compass is pointing to the airfield, so it's just off our left of our nose. You can actually see the island out in front of us. That's where the airfield is. It's a little to the left, like I said, but it's over there. We'll fly over the top of it. I'll attempt landing. I don't know how well it'll go, but you can see how using the NDB and the heading setting on your ADI, you can line up with the airfield, even when you don't have both an outer and inner NDB to verify. As we get closer to the airfield, when you're prepping for landing, unless you're being told what to do by the tower, or you have other guys you're flying with that's directing you, you want to kind of overfly or near the airfield to verify that it's the right one in the right place and that it's clear or functional. In the case of doing a pattern like they do in the training, you want to do an overhead brake, which means you line up with the runway, overfly it until you lose sight of the runway on your nose, brake right or left. At that point you want to be about 500 meters in altitude, about 500 kilometers per hour. Do your pattern, turn into final once the threshold of the airstrip is off 5 o'clock on either side of your main turn in, line up and land. So when you do your initial overfly, 500 meters and 500 kilometers per hour, you fly overhead of the airfield, lose sight of the runway, brake right or left. I usually do like a 20 to 30 degree bank, maintain as best I can altitude and speed. You want to turn around until you're going the opposite direction of the runway. You can check that by what you set on your ADI there if you need to, and then watch off your wing until it's at 5 o'clock position. Once it's at 4.5, 5 o'clock position, you want to extend your landing gear, which will start slowing you down a bit. And when you slow down enough, just a little bit, about 450 kilometers per hour, you're going to put your takeoff flaps on, and that should slow you down a little bit. Then you want to maintain about 400 kilometers an hour when you turn into final. When you turn into final, you want to actually start losing altitude and set yourself up so that when you line up with the airfield turning in, you're about 250 meters above the runway on your radio altimeter there, radar altimeter, and then also that you slow down to just over 300 or about 300, and then manage your throttle as you descend. Don't descend too fast. About 2,500 meters up, start cutting the power to slow us down a little bit because it can't be too much further forward. The training talks about going 600 kilometers an hour when you know the distance, and every minute you're going to go up 10 kilometers at that speed. That's a good measure to judge things by. Keep in mind too that as this is an older aircraft, the throttle response to schooling and the aerodynamics and weight of this aircraft make it kind of a sluggish bird in the fact that it doesn't slow down very fast without air brakes. And it doesn't speed up that fast if you're not going fast enough. So keep that in mind. You gotta kind of think ahead a little bit. As you can see, there's our airstrip there. So we're going to kind of fly over it, reduce our speed, align with the runway on the heading that I said we were going to land on, and see if we can't do this overhead brake pattern that was talking about. So I'm losing altitude. I'm going to start slowing down here. I pass a little bit, turn around, line, and do our pattern. Notice the needles following the airfield as we're passing it. Like I said, on the Persian Gulf map, most of these airfields, if they have an NDB, only have one. So, unlike on the Caucasus map, if you have an inner and outer NDB, you can switch back and forth between the near and far receiver and align that way. But on the Persian Gulf map, you use the runway heading and the NDB receiver that you've got set to the airfield. Hopefully this is helping you. I'm not the bestest pilot ever. So hopefully this goes smoothly, and I'm proud of what I can show you. Otherwise, then well, you'll just have to deal with how I do, I guess. Slow. Now another note, I didn't memorize the weights for maximum landing weight, but if you've got full ordnance loads and full fuel, landing this thing is a pain in the butt, and you're probably going to wreck it on landing. So just keep that in mind. Go back and reference the manual on the maximum landing weight so you know what you're dealing with. If you have to burn some fuel to the afterburner, because it goes fast. Alright, let's turn down as we're dropping some altitude. About 1,700 meters up. Slow, but small changes on this throttle go a long ways. Just have to be careful with it. Especially when you're losing altitude. Notice the NDB and the runway heading are mostly aligned as we align with the airfield up ahead. We're still going a little fast. And we're almost to 1,000 meters, so we're still a little high. See how the needles are lined up nicely with the airfield there. So even if you weren't able to see the runway really well like we are right now, you can still tell based on your HSI there how you're aligned. Okay, so we're about 500 kilometers an hour, almost at 500 meters altitude. Start pulling our nose up. We might have to add a little throttle to maintain 500 kilometers. But you notice how the end of the runway is going to disappear off the front of our nose here in a minute. Okay, at any point now we can do our overhead brake and brake either right or left. We're about the right altitude anyway, so brake right. Let my altitude slip a little bit as we turn. I have to speed up a little bit to maintain 500 kilometers an hour. Basically, we're going to watch our runway heading there on the HSI to see when we're going back parallel with the runway again. Of course you can look and see. But if you're like me, when you look back, it's kind of hard perspective-wise to tell if you're parallel or not unless you look at an instrument. So there's that. So we're about the right altitude. We're a little slow. Up parallel with the runway now. We're going to watch the threshold right there. Gain some speed here. Too much low. And we're slightly high, but that's okay. Touchy on the throttle. About time to turn in now. So we've got to lead off some speed. So I can put the landing gear down to 500 kilometers an hour. Set for takeoff flaps. Dropping altitude and speed. It'll be about 400, 450 kilometers an hour. And then once we get turned on the final, we'll drop our landing flaps. Now, just so you know, if you're going too fast, your landing flaps will not come down. And once you drop them, it's going to have a tendency to slow way down, so you have to manage your throttle a little bit. You have to manage your throttle anyway to manage your rate of descent on your glide path. And like I said before, it can be very touchy on the throttle. You don't want to go below 300 kilometers an hour. Else you drop like a rock. And when you prepare for landing, you want to try to keep your nose about on your HSI level, and then just manage your rate of descent with your throttle in alignment with your rudder. Once you reach the threshold of the runway, you can pull your throttle back a little bit and start to slip down. Once you get a little lower, you can flare and set your back two down, wheels down. A little high. Flare. Pop your chute, and then after you're below 200 kilometers an hour, you can put your brake on. And you can release your chute there. And although it wasn't the best landing, that's how you navigate and land. Then you can set your front wheel brakes off, so you can do differential braking. And I forgot you have to put your flaps up too. to taxi to the park area. And there you go. That's how you navigate and somewhat how you land in the MiG-19P. Enjoy.